It was brought to our attention by our bosses that that's a procedure that they go to and what a corporate resolution involves, so that we would know that we'd have the signing authority.
So would it be accurate to say that someone in management at NTC told you that you and others had the authority to sign as vice presidents of City Residential Lending or other companies, but other than that you have no other basis for stating that you had the authority or Crystal Moore had the authority to sign on behalf of these companies? Is that accurate?
Correct.
Have you ever seen any of these corporate resolutions or other documents giving you or Crystal Moore authority to sign as vice presidents or officers of any of these companies?
A few times.
And were those occasions times when you've been deposed?
Once.
In addition to notarizing assignments of mortgage, do you ever sign assignments as a vice president of a company?
Yes.
What companies have you signed assignments as vice president? Or for which companies have you signed as vice president?
I couldn't list all. Just.
Can you give me some examples?
Well, Chase Morgan, Wells Fargo. I'm on pretty much every corporate resolution.
So would it be accurate to say that there are maybe in excess of 20 companies or banks that you sign as vice president?
That would be fair to say.
Or have signed as vice president
Yes.
during your tenure at NTC?
Yes.
I'm going to show you a document marked as Exhibit Number 2. I'll show it to your counsel first.
Bring this back to the
We'll leave it with the witness while I ask him questions, and then we'll turn it over to the court reporter. Do you see your signature on this document?
Yes.
Okay. And there's a signature block, Bryan Bly, Vice President, with it looks like an initial B above it. Is that where you're indicating you see your signature?
That's correct.
So in Exhibit 1, you signed that assignment as notary for Crystal Moore, who was a Vice President of City Residential Lending. But on this document, you signed as Vice President of City Residential Lending, and someone else notarized your signature. Is that correct?
Correct.
The signature that appears on this document, it appears to be just an initial. Do you sign all of the documents you sign for NTC using this signature?
A form of an initial, yes.
A form of an initial. Can you explain that to me?
When we submit the corporate resolution, we submit how we're signing. In other words, that would have been the initial that I submitted to the city for them to approve.
Okay. Would there be a reason why you would use a different initial or a different signature for different companies?
The variance in my signature is more or less because my poor hand skills. I mean, it's not a deliberate attempt to have it look one way or the other.
Do you have different versions of your signature that you intentionally choose between when you sign assignments and other documents?
The only intentional difference is on 3 different counties that require full signatures. I can remember 2 of them: Aiken, South Carolina, and Muskogee, Georgia. You have to have a full signature. And so on those I sign my full name.
Okay. Other than for those instances, would there be any reason why you would use a signature other than the initial that appears on Exhibit Number 2 I presented to you?
No.
In Exhibit Number 2, again, you sign this as Vice President of City Residential Lending. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Are you, in fact, a Vice President of City Residential Lending?
For signing purposes only.
So your role as a vice president of city residential lending is limited to executing documents in connection with your employment with NTC?
That's correct.
Exhibit number 2 actually says that you signed it as vice president of city residential lending as attorney in fact for Argent Mortgage Company, LLC. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know whether or not you have any authority to sign as attorney in fact for Argent Mortgage Company?
Yes, I'm sure the corporate resolution is there.
Have you ever seen that corporate resolution?
I haven't personally seen that one.
Okay. So you're basing that assumption on something somebody told you? Is that correct?
I'm basing it on the process that we go through before we start a loan.
What is an attorney in fact?
Objection.
What is your understanding of the term attorney in fact?
My understanding is that we have the authority to sign on behalf of that company that we're representing.
Can you tell me, or do you know what the relationship is between City Residential Lending and Argent Mortgage Company?
Objection.
I would be speculating.
Both of the documents I've shown you are titled assignment of mortgage. What is your understanding of that term? What is an assignment of mortgage?
I'm not really sure.
Both of these documents, it appears to me, were executed in Pinellas County. Do you have any reason to disagree with that?
No.
All of the documents that you signed in your capacity as an employee of NTC, have all of those been signed in NTC's offices in Pinellas County?
Yes.
So you've never executed any documents during your tenure at NTC in any other locations?
That's correct.
Can you tell me on any given day how many assignments or other documents you sign?
Are you looking for a ballpark average?
Ballpark. I certainly don't expect you to remember exactly.
Okay, I'd say 5,000.
And would that be an average day for you?
That would be average.
So would it be fair to say that during your tenure at NTC, you've probably signed in excess of 50 or 60,000 documents?
Yes.
Could be higher than that?
Yes.
And with signing so many on any given day, can you estimate for me the amount of time you spend on any given document?
Less than a minute.
When you're presented with a document to sign or notarize, do you take any steps to verify any of the information contained in the document?
Not in the body.
When you say not in the body, are there other steps that you take?
I'm just looking to make sure it's been fully signed
Okay.
before it's presented.
So would it be accurate to say that you are presented with a stack of documents to sign, and your practice is to look at the document, see if it's been signed, affix your signature to it, and then move on to the next document?
Correct.
Do you do anything else in that process that I haven't articulated?
Only other thing would be stamp the notary stamp after it's signed.
So for documents where you're signing as the notary and not as the vice president, you would sign it and then affix your stamp?
Correct.
Does anyone else ever affix your notary stamp to the document?
No.
Is your signature ever electronically inserted into a document?
Yes.
Under what circumstances would your signature be electronically inserted into a document?
On the counties that accept e-recordings.
To your knowledge, are there any counties in Florida that accept e-recordings?
I wouldn't know specific, but yes.
Do you play any role in the creation of the documents to which your signature is electronically affixed?
No role.
Do you have any idea what documents or how many documents your signature has been electronically affixed to?
No.
Do you ever review those electronic documents after your signature's been affixed?
No.
So would it be accurate to say that that entire process takes place outside of your presence and knowledge?
That'd be fair.
Did you say you did not have a computer at your desk?
No, next cubicle there's one.
And the reason I ask that is to lead up to my next question. During this process that we've been talking about, at no time do you consult your computer to verify any information or to receive instructions?
No.
When you're signing a document as a vice president of a company and it's presented to you for that purpose, are there ever any other signatures already affixed to the document?
No.
You can't recall any instances where you've signed as vice president of a document, but the signatures of the witnesses or the notary have already been filled in?
No.
When you sign these documents as the notary, can you recall any instances in which you've notarized a document where there's been a blank signature line?
No, I have to set it aside.
So if one comes to you in a stack of documents and all of the other signature lines are not signed, you have to put it aside?
Yes.
And then what do you do with it?
Well, I'll go to that person and have them sign.
So you would route it back to the person whose signature was missed,
Right.
and then it would come back to you.
Right.
I'm going to show you a document that I've marked as Exhibit 3. I'm going to ask you to review this document and tell me if your signature appears on it.
Yes.
On page 2, you're indicating the area where there's a signature block that says Bryan Bly, attorney in fact.
That's correct.
That signature is very different from the one that we just looked at on Exhibit number 2. Would you agree with that?
Correct.
And your signature on Exhibit number 2 is in turn very different from the signature that appears on Exhibit 1. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Can you explain to me the discrepancies between how your signature appears on each of these 3 documents?
Okay. On this last exhibit, our signing procedures have changed where they wanted to go to 2 initials. So that's why you have the extra. And the difference between Exhibit 1 and 2 is just simply how my hand caught. All right.
Okay. All 3 of these documents at the bottom, it indicates document prepared by Jessica Fretwell. Do you see where it says that?
Yes.
Who is Jessica Fretwell?
She's an employee.
An employee of NTC?
Correct.
Do you have any understanding as to what her role is in preparing these documents?
No.
Is she still employed by NTC?
Yes.